There's a specific moment when power dies. Not during war, not during betrayal. It dies the second you say yes to someone who should hear no. I'm going to show you 6 psychological vampires walking through your life right now. They don't wear fangs, they wear neediness. And according to Machiavelli's hidden protocols, every single one of them is a test. A test you're currently failing. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly who's feeding on your energy, and more importantly, you'll learn the ancient Italian art of strategic abandonment. If you've ever felt drained helping someone who never changes, this might be the most dangerous thing you watch today. Let's begin. Here's what nobody tells you about power. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to teach cruelty. He wrote it to teach discernment, the ability to see clearly when everyone else is blinded by emotion. And his most brutal lesson? This one. The destruction of good men comes not from their enemies, but from those they insist on saving. Think about that. Your downfall isn't being plotted by rivals. It's being executed by the person you keep rescuing. The one who calls you at 2 a.m. The one who just needs one more favor. The one whose crisis somehow always becomes your responsibility. Modern society calls this compassion. Machiavelli called it benevolent suicide, and he identified exactly 6 archetypes that execute this psychological murder. 6 patterns that repeat across centuries, cultures, and every person watching this right now. I'm going to show you all 6, but I need you to do something uncomfortable. Stop thinking about bad people out there and start asking, which of these am I currently feeding? Because awareness without action is just expensive entertainment. Let's meet the first vampire. You know this person. Every conversation is a tragedy. Every week, a new disaster. Job? Lost it, unfair boss. Relationship? Failed. They didn't understand me. Money? Gone, the system is rigged. At first, you feel compassion. You think they're just going through a rough patch, so you help, you lend money, you make calls, you give advice. You stay up late listening to the same story you heard 3 months ago with different character names. And then something fascinating happens. They get worse. Machiavelli observed something the modern world refuses to accept. Some people are addicted to their own suffering, not because they're mentally ill, not because they're traumatized, but because victimhood gives them something they crave more than success. Control over you. Watch how it works. They cry, you respond. They fail, you rescue. They complain, you sacrifice. You think you're being kind. But what you're actually doing is training them. You're teaching them that helplessness gets rewarded, that emotional blackmail works, that as long as they perform suffering convincingly enough, you'll keep paying. Here's what happens to the rescuer over time. First month, you feel noble. 3rd month, you feel tired. 6th month, you feel trapped. 1 year later, you resent them, but you can't leave, because now you're the bad guy if you stop. That's the trap. They've made you complicit in their stagnation, and every time you rescue them, you steal their only chance to evolve, the pain of hitting bottom. Machiavelli's solution was ruthless. Never save someone from consequences they chose, not because you're cruel, but because nature itself works this way. A bird that never struggles out of its egg dies inside the shell. A tree that never faces wind grows weak roots. Pain is the biological mechanism for growth. When you shield someone from their own choices, you don't help them. You preserve their weakness. So here's what you do. Stop explaining, stop justifying, just withdraw. No dramatic speech, no I'm disappointed in you. Just quiet, permanent distance. And when they ask why, you don't need to answer. Because the people who deserve an explanation already know, and the ones who don't never will. If you've ever watched someone waste 3 chances you gave them, type no more rescues in the comments. That's not coldness, that's clarity. Let's move to the second type. This one's subtle. You help someone genuinely, sacrificially. You give time, money, energy, opportunity. At first, they thank you, eyes full of tears. I'll never forget this. You saved me. You feel warm, purposeful. This is why you exist, to lift others. But watch what happens over time. Week 1, thank you so much. Month 2, silence. Month 4, they need help again. But this time, no gratitude, just expectation. Month 6, you stop helping. And suddenly, you're the villain. Machiavelli understood something most people never learn. Gratitude is the rarest human emotion, and it fades faster than love. Why? Because gratitude makes people feel indebted, and humans hate debt. So the mind does something fascinating. It rewrites history, the help you gave. They start believing they deserved it, or earned it somehow, or worse, that it wasn't actually that significant. This is how favors become obligations, how gifts become expectations, how the person who saved you becomes the person you resent. You'll know you're dealing with this type when they remember what you didn't do, but forget what you did. They complain about the way you helped, not celebrate that you helped. When you stop, they don't ask what happened. They accuse you of betrayal. This is the person who borrows $5,000, pays back $4,000 and asks why you're making a big deal about $1,000. Machiavelli's advice here cuts deep. The moment gratitude dies, so does the relationship. Everything after is theater. You're not obligated to keep giving to someone who stopped appreciating. That's not a relationship. It's spiritual embezzlement. So what do? You test. Stop giving, not forever, just pause. If they reach out with curiosity, concern, or genuine gratitude, real connection might exist. But if they reach out with accusation, guilt, or demands, you've just discovered they never valued you. They valued your utility, and a Machiavellian never confuses the two. Comment gratitude or goodbye if you've ever been taken for granted by someone you lifted up. Now the third type. This one's dangerous because they seem harmless. This person doesn't ask for help. They reject it. You offer advice? I already know that. You share a lesson? That doesn't apply to me. You warn them about a cliff? They smile, call you paranoid, and walk straight off. Then they fall. Hard. And when they hit the ground, they don't blame themselves. They blame you for not warning them correctly. Machiavelli wrote, "You cannot teach a man who believes he has nothing to learn." Every word becomes an insult, every truth an attack. This is the person whose ego is so fragile, they'd rather fail than admit ignorance. And here's the trap. You think if you just explain it better, they'll finally understand. But you're playing the wrong game. They're not seeking truth. They're seeking validation of their existing worldview. Any information that challenges it isn't rejected because it's wrong. It's rejected because it threatens their identity. When you try to help this person, something insidious happens. Your advice is twisted into criticism. Your concern is reframed as jealousy. Your silence is called betrayal. You lose either way. And the more you try to save them, the more you doubt yourself. Because they're so confident, you start wondering, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. That's the moment you've lost. Machiavelli's strategy here is ice cold. Do not argue with the self-satisfied. Simply wait. Reality is a better teacher than you will ever be. In other words, let them fall, not from cruelty, but from respect for the only force stronger than ego. Consequence. Some people don't learn through words, they learn through collapse, and your job isn't to prevent that collapse, your job is to not be standing underneath when it happens. So when you meet this type, say nothing, show nothing, wait. When they eventually crash, and they will, they'll remember you. Not your words, your silence. And in that silence, they'll finally hear what you tried to say. Type silence teaches if you've ever watched someone ignore your warning and fall exactly as you predicted. The fourth type is where Machiavelli draws a line in the sand. Up until now, we've talked about the weak, the ungrateful, the arrogant. But this type is different. They're not confused. They're not ignorant. They know exactly what they're doing. And they do it anyway. This is the person who lies not by mistake but by design. Betrays not in weakness but with precision. Hurts others, not from pain, but from pleasure. Machiavelli called them the wicked, and his instructions were clear. The wicked must not be educated, they must be stopped. Because this isn't a person who needs help. This is a person who needs boundaries they cannot cross. Here's where good people destroy themselves. You think everyone deserves a second chance, so you give it. They cry, they apologize, they tell you a story tragic enough to make you hesitate. And you, afraid of being called heartless, open the door again. Then they do it again. Not because they didn't understand, but because your forgiveness taught them you're controllable. Machiavelli observed, "The evil do not fear goodness. They fear consequence, and when you remove consequence, you become their accomplice." This is the only type where Machiavelli advises something absolute. Complete severance. No contact, no explanation, no closure. Why? Because every word you say is ammunition they'll use later. Every emotion you show is a lever they'll pull. The wicked don't need your wisdom, they need your absence. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Some people are not broken, they're committed to darkness. Your job isn't to save them. Your job is to protect everyone else from them. Comment zero tolerance if you've ever given someone a second chance they used as a weapon. Now we enter the territory of the invisible. Type 5. This person is always in crisis. But unlike the eternal victim, they don't just complain, they act. They try, they fail, they try again, they fail again, and they genuinely don't understand why. You watch them date the same toxic person with a different face, start the same business that collapses the same way, make the same financial mistake in a new disguise, and every time they fall, they look at you with genuine confusion. Why does this keep happening to me? Machiavelli saw this clearly. The fool does not lack intelligence. He lacks the courage to see himself. This person isn't stupid. They're allergic to self-examination. They see patterns everywhere except the one that matters, themselves. Fired from 3 jobs, bad bosses, 3 failed relationships, bad partners, broke at 40, bad economy, never bad choices. When you help this person, something tragic happens. You become their excuse. They don't change because you'll always be there. They don't grow because you make it unnecessary. They don't learn because your kindness insulates them from reality. You think you're helping them survive. What you're actually doing is preventing them from living. Machiavelli's prescription. Let pain teach what words cannot. This doesn't mean you hate them. It means you respect the curriculum of consequence, because some lessons can only be learned at rock bottom. And every time you catch them before they hit, you delay the only moment that could change them. So you withdraw, not to punish, but to allow reality to do its work. Type reality is the teacher if you've ever enabled someone by protecting them from their own patterns. Now, the final type, the master of the invisible chain. This is the most dangerous one. Because you never see them coming, they don't demand. They make you volunteer, they don't take, they make you give, they don't control you. They make you control yourself on their behalf. It starts innocently. I don't want to burden you, but you're the only one who understands. I know you're busy, so I won't ask, but notice the pattern? They're not asking. They're creating emotional debt before you even decide to help. And once you do, the hooks go deeper. They thank you in ways that make you feel special. They share secrets that make you feel chosen. They show vulnerability that makes you feel needed. But here's what's really happening. Every interaction is a deposit in the bank of guilt. And when they need something, they make a withdrawal, not with demands, but with disappointment. I thought you cared. After everything we've been through. I guess I was wrong about you. Machiavelli understood this game perfectly. The manipulator's genius is this. They make you imprison yourself while believing you're free. They never force you. They just make not helping feel like betrayal. And the trap is complete when you start explaining yourself to them. Justifying your decisions, apologizing for having boundaries. The moment you do that, they've won. Because now, you're not managing your own life. You're managing their feelings about your life. Machiavelli's solution is surgical. Detachment is not cruelty. It is the refusal to be controlled by another's emotional theater. Here's what you do. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop responding to guilt. When they perform sadness, you observe it. You don't fix it. When they imply betrayal, you don't defend yourself. When they need you to react, you give them nothing. Not because you're cold, but because silence is the only language manipulation cannot weaponize. And watch what happens. When you stop reacting, they'll escalate, then exhaust, then move on to someone else, because manipulators need an audience, and when you exit the theater, the show cannot continue. Comment silence is power if you've ever cut someone off who was controlling you through guilt. So let's bring this together. 6 types, 6 tests, 6 chances to lose your power through misplaced compassion. But here's what Machiavelli really understood. This isn't about being cruel, it's about being clear. Clear about who deserves your energy, very few. Who deserves your time, even fewer. Who deserves unlimited access to your soul, almost no one. Because power doesn't come from helping everyone. Power comes from helping the right people while having the courage to abandon the wrong ones. And here's the shift that changes everything. Cutting someone off isn't violence, it's honesty. You're saying, I cannot carry you anymore, not because I'm weak, but because doing so makes us both weaker. That's not cold, that's compassionate clarity. So if you take nothing else from this, take this: your kindness is not infinite. It shouldn't be. And pretending otherwise doesn't make you good, it makes you exhausted. The Machiavelli protocol is simple. Observe patterns, not performances. Withdraw from anyone who drains more than they give. Never explain to those who refuse to understand. Let silence do the teaching. Words cannot. Because in the end, you're not responsible for saving everyone. You're responsible for not losing yourself while trying. If this video gave you clarity you didn't have 20 minutes ago, do two things. 1. Subscribe to the Machiavelli protocol. Because we're building something here, a community that values truth over comfort, clarity over niceness, and power over popularity. 2. Comment which of these 6 types you're dealing with right now, or better yet, which one you were until you finally walked away. Because awareness without action is just expensive entertainment, and you didn't come here to be entertained, you came here to take your power back. Next video, the 3 sentences Machiavelli used to control any conversation. You won't want to miss that. Until then, protect your energy like it's your last resource. Because it is. I'll see you in the next protocol. If you're ready to take these strategies beyond theory, check the pinned comment. The link I left there is the next step to becoming truly untouchable.